Welcome to the WP Builds podcast, bringing you the latest news, interviews, and fun for the WordPress community. Now, welcome your host, Nathan Wrigley. Hello there, and welcome once again to the WP Builds podcast. You've reached episode number 414, entitled Revolutionising WordPress Translations. Leo Losoviz talks Gato AI Translations for Polylang. It was published on Thursday, the 20th of March, 2025. My name's Nathan Wrigley, and I'll be joined in a few minutes by Leo. But before then, a few bits of housekeeping. First of all, if you like what we're doing over at WP Builds, I've got a suggestion for you. Why not go and subscribe? Now, there's a couple of ways that you can do that. If you want to get email from us, go to wpbuilds.com/subscribe, fill out the form there, and we'll send you an email each time we produce content. That's typically on a Tuesday when we have parceled up the Monday This Week in WordPress show. We send that out as an audio podcast the next day and notify you via email that has happened. But also, we'll notify you when we produce this, the Thursday podcast. That's what you're listening to now. So that's how to do it with email. The other way might be to subscribe to the podcast. And you can do that by going to wpbuilds.com/subscribe, find the RSS feed, or just go to your podcast player of choice, type in WP Builds and subscribe over there. And that way you will automatically download the latest episode into your podcast player so you can listen to it whenever you're gardening, vacuuming, cleaning out the bathroom, whatever it may be. We will be right there with you. wpbuilds.com/subscribe. If you like what we're doing and you have a product or service in the WordPress space, perhaps you are a plugin creator, theme creator, into blocks, perhaps you've got a hosting company or something like that. If you would like to get in front of the audience that we have, a very specific WordPress audience, head to wpbuilds.com/advertise to find out how we can help you with that enterprise. 3 companies that have just done that are GoDaddy Pro, Bluehost, and Omnisend. The WP Builds podcast is brought to you today by GoDaddy Pro. GoDaddy Pro, the home of managed WordPress hosting that includes free domain, SSL, and 24/7 support. Bundle that with the Hub by GoDaddy Pro to unlock more free benefits to manage multiple sites in one place, invoice clients, and get 30% off new purchases. Find out more at go.me/WP Builds. And we're also helped this week by Bluehost. Bluehost, redefine your web hosting experience with Bluehost Cloud, managed WordPress hosting that comes with lightning-fast websites, 100% network uptime, and 24/7 priority support. With Bluehost Cloud, the possibilities are out of this world. Experience it today at bluehost.com/cloud. And we're also assisted this week by Omnisend. Omnisend, do you sell your stuff online? Then meet Omnisend. Yes, that Omnisend, the email and SMS tool that helps you make $73 for every dollar spent. The one that's so good, it's almost boring. Hate the excitement of roller coaster sales? Prefer a steady line going up? Well, try Omnisend today at omnisend.com. And sincere thanks go to GoDaddy Pro, Bluehost, and Omnisend for their support of the WP Builds podcast. Podcasts like this cannot happen without the gracious support of fine companies like that. Okay, what have we got for you today? Well, I'm having another chat with Leo Losoviz. Previously, we've talked about his Gato GraphQL plugin, and he has something built on top of that. It is called the Gato AI Translations for Polylang. And guess what it does? It will translate your content into a whole bunch of languages, and it will do it in a very impressive hands-off way. So on the podcast today, Leo gets into why he built this, how he's leveraged his Gato GraphQL plugin to make all of this happen, how you go about setting up the translations to happen entirely automatically in the background by binding it to various AI agents. It really is quite remarkable how it works, and hopefully we get it across to you today. So that's all coming up on the podcast, and I hope that you enjoy it. I am joined on the podcast by Leonardo or Leo. Let's go with Leo Losoviz. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thanks, Nathan.
You're very welcome. Leo and I were like whole feet away from each other not that long ago. We're recording this on the 4th of March, 2025. And just a week or so ago, Leo and I were stood in the Philippines conference center in Manila chatting about WordPress and what have you. You made it home safely, I guess, to Malaysia.
Yes, yeah. For me, it was just a small flight, so no big deal. And I plan to come to Mumbai too next year, so I'm already excited about it.
Yeah, nice. Well, hopefully I'll be there as well. But it was a pleasure to see you, and obviously a real pleasure to get you on the podcast once more. Leo and I have done a whole ton of podcasts in the past, specifically around his plugin, Gato GraphQL. If you go to the wpbuilds.com website and use the search facility and just type in Gato, Gato, I'm pretty convinced that it will spit out all the different bits and pieces. But that's not what we're here for today, because Leo has a new project, and it looks like from your website, it's one of many in the future. But if you go to gatoplugins.com, so pause this, Gato plugins, Gato plugins.com, and then in the menu at the top, you've got a plugins option. And if you, at the moment in there is just this one plugin, and it's called Gato AI Translations for Polylang. And I guess this is a case of the title says pretty much what it does. But we'll get into that in a moment. Before we do, Leo, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your WordPressy journey.
I've been working with WordPress since 2012. A friend of mine asked me to check a website of his, and I had no clue about it. I had studied computer science, and I had experience with software in general. I had never used WordPress, and when I saw how powerful it was, I was in love with it. And then I started making a website, and the website became a kind of API, and the API became GraphQL API, and then that's when I launched my other plugin, Gato GraphQL. And now I have this idea of creating new plugins, reusing my GraphQL plugin to create new use cases.
Wait. So you've used the plugin, the sort of the engineering behind the plugin to create this plugin. I mean, I'm guessing it's not a direct derivative. It's just bits and pieces of the technology in there. Or is it literally created out of that plugin?
Both plugins are the same plugin. Actually, the new plugin, Gato AI Translations, is a wrapper of Gato GraphQL.
Gosh.
Yes. And Gato GraphQL, it took me 10 years to build.
Yeah.
But these plugins that I'm building now, they take me maybe 1 month to create. So basically now I can boast that it took me only 1 month to create the plugin, only because I have been working on it for 10 years and 1 month.
Okay. So you built this incredibly complicated plugin, which is able to use GraphQL to do... Oh, honestly, we could go into this for hours, and we have. Go and search for it on WP Builds. But you can do a whole range of complicated things with that plugin. And so you're saying that you've kind of stripped the UI away from the Gato GraphQL plugin, but embedded the functionality inside of this smaller plugin, if you like, which does one thing. And in this case, it's translations. So, okay.
Gato GraphQL can do a lot of things. It's like a tool for doing anything you want to do concerning data. But it's complex because you have to create the queries for whatever it is that you want to do. So now what I'm doing is creating that query that does a specific thing and wrap it under a plugin. So this one is basically one GraphQL query that fetches the data from the database, like the post with the title and the content, and then it calls an AI like ChatGPT or Google Translate. It translates the data and puts it back on the database. It's just one GraphQL query, and then I have a UI to basically select all the options that you want to do, and they know you know that there is GraphQL running. They know GraphQL server whatsoever. What you have is just the use case, and you operate it with the user interface. You click a button, you press another button, and you're done. And also that's why I call my venture Gato Plugins, because this is the first plugin, but like this, I have many more which will be coming soon as, whenever I can implement them, I will do it. So the first one is, for instance, with Polylang, but I can do the same for multi-site, just modifying that GraphQL query. So instead of storing the data on the Polylang, using Polylang management, I can store it on a multi-site. I can also integrate with other plugins, possibly in the future with WPML or maybe Translate Press. These are things that I have to consider. And then interacting with the API, in this case, I do translation. But instead of doing translation, I can do, I can say fix my grammar. And then I will have another plugin called
Gato Fix My Grammar.
Fix my grammar. Yeah, exactly. Or just AI automations that you can even define which automation you want to do. Like you can automatically create the title from the content, or create the tags from the content, or select tags from the existing tags, or create the feature image. All of these are just one query that has to be coded, and with my server that I have already implemented that is doable, I just need to code the query and wrap it in a plugin with a specific UI, and I'm ready to go. So that's what I'm actually working right now.
I had no idea that's what was going on, but that's really sublime. Yeah. So again, just to give the listener some context there, the Gato GraphQL plugin, which is the basis for this, and as I said, I hadn't realized that, has this ability to sort of take data from somewhere, put it somewhere else, modify it en route in whichever way you wish it to be modified. But you have to have a fairly decent technical understanding of how those things are done. So it wouldn't be a case of your grandmother could do this necessarily. And so what you've decided...
Maybe your grandmother can. My grandmother
certainly could not. But the point being that you've stripped away that difficult level of understanding how GraphQL works and what have you. And you've decided to say, okay, let's ship plugins which do a subset of things and just wrap it around one use case. So in this case, it's going to be translating content in, for one example, WordPress posts, but could be pages or custom post types or what have you. And so does the user of this plugin have any idea of that? In other words, is there any bit of the UI which says, well, I'm leveraging the GraphQL plugin, you can change the query here if you want, or is it just a case of it, that all of that underpinning technology is kind of hidden away?
Right. By default, no, but there's this opportunity to translate custom blocks. So this works with the classic editor and with Gutenberg. And this plugin, what it does is to extract the properties from the blocks and translate only the properties. So then it doesn't break the block. It doesn't break the Gutenberg layout. Because if you just translate the whole HTML, it might happen that whichever API you call doesn't do a 100% perfect translation, and maybe one code is not put back in place, and then it breaks the whole formatting. So what I do is to extract the properties and translate those, which is great. But then you need to know the structure of the block.
Got it.
And all the core blocks from WordPress, like core paragraph and video and title and blog code, all of those are supported by default. But maybe you have your own custom block. So then you will need to have the plugin be able to extract the property from your custom block. In that case, yes, you will use GraphQL. But I also explain how to do it. It's very easy, and actually it's simple. It's easier than doing it with PHP. Basically, what we're doing is using GraphQL instead of using PHP to access the data, and it cannot break. So yes, basically I would say 90% of the time you will not need. And if you need to extend the plugin, you might need to use GraphQL.
I think this is so remarkable because, like you said, you've spent 10 years building this plugin, which can do so many complicated things. And maybe the audience for that is enormous, but maybe the audience is quite small. But then you are able to hive off an almost infinite number, I guess. I know it's going to take you a month to sort of implement the plugin and what have you, but you've got this back end which you can repurpose over and over and over again for wrangling data on websites. And so in this case, you began with translations, which seems like the perfect encapsulation of it, because it really demonstrates perfectly exactly how it works. So, okay, that's fascinating. Let's get into what it does. And again, once again, it's called Gato AI Translations for Polylang. It pretty much says what it's doing there. Polylang is that a free open source 100% free plugin that you can download from the repo?
Yes, it is on the repo and it's free. And they also have a commercial version, Polylang Pro, that they give you more advanced features. And they also have translation with machine learning. I think they use DeepL. So yeah, you have both options, and my plugin works with both the free and the pro versions.
Okay, so you've got this capacity to download a piece of software, which, you know, is a different plugin, but this basically offers the opportunity in your WordPress website. So let's say in my case, I only write in English. I speak no other language and I don't read any other languages. But let's say that my audience wishes to consume that content in French, and we're talking about text content at the moment. Maybe there's more to it than that, but let's say I want to translate it to French, to German, to Dutch, to Chinese, to Japanese, and what have you. Polylang puts the interface in to do that, but your plugin then sits on top of that and does the actual work of binding the AI APIs so that when I publish my English post, it will then go and create equivalent posts in German, in Belgian, in Dutch, whatever it might be. There isn't a Belgian, but anyway, there we go.
Yeah, you just said everything. You are absolutely right. So basically, when you click publish, it will fetch the information of what language you have in your database, and it will translate the post to all of those languages, create the entries, call the API, do the translation, insert the strings back into the translation entries, and store it. So basically, it takes away the pain of having to create the translations manually. And that takes, it could take several minutes, and here now it's done automatically.
Okay, so let's go through the workflow of that then. So I set up Polylang to say I wish to do, I've got English as my base language and I want French and German. Let's just stick with that for now, but it could be anything, right? Anything where the AI can do that. You then install your plugin and you presumably have to bind an API key in for some AI service. And do you want to just run through what the list of those are that you've got at the moment?
Yeah. So there are like 6 services right now. 4 of them are AI, typical AI ones: ChatGPT, Claude, DeepSeek, and Mistral. And then there are 2 what we now call the legacy services, which are Google Translate and DeepL. Even though 3 months ago they were all the rage, but now they are called legacy services. And you can choose whichever you want. Actually, you can choose language by language. You can say, when you translate to French, use Mistral. Mistral is a French AI company, and I don't know, maybe they have better support for translating to French. Maybe you want to translate to Chinese, and you decide to use DeepSeek. Maybe you decide to use Google Translate because it's way faster. Or Claude because it kind of thinks a bit more better, is more like exquisite in its thinking. Huh. But you can define this language by language.
Right.
Yes, and you have to add the API key. So basically, I don't have a service. I don't have a backend that you have to connect to me. You connect straight to the API. So in the plugin, you add the API key for that service. And depending on how much time or how much content you translate, that service will charge straight to you. So for what I have seen, it's not expensive. Actually, for like 3 cents of dollar, you can translate 5 posts. So it's really not expensive to do these automatic translations.
Okay, so again, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, I am in my WordPress website. I've installed Polylang. I've now installed on top of it the Gato AI Translations for Polylang, and I've got all that configured. API keys have gone in and everything's good to go. So I've decided that I'm going to use this particular AI LLM for my post, and I hack away, write, type. I've written my 10,000 word article, and all I do is click publish in the same way, right? I just click publish, wait for a period of time. The content gets consumed out of my WordPress website, pushed via the API to the AI service that I'm using. It does its work. And then what does it do on the WordPress side? I think it's creating draft posts with a modified title. So the title is the French version or the German version or whatever. Have I got that right?
Yeah, exactly. So when you publish, by default, it will create the entries for all of the translations and store them as draft. You could also have it to be published automatically, but by default, you do it as draft. And the idea is that you can still edit it. You can edit the translated entry and see that it's all right, and only then click on publish. You can have a translator friend who will make sure the translation is proper, and if there is something that is not right, then they can actually fix it. And this is important because we're actually using the WordPress editor itself as the tool to manage the translation. So there's no need to do copy-paste. There's no need to copy all the content into a Google Doc that then you send it to some translation service, and then they translate everything, and then you have to copy again all the content back into WordPress. That will take you 5 minutes or 10 minutes. This is all automated, and the fixing the translation will happen again on the WordPress editor. And if you're using Gutenberg, for instance, everything is already inside the blocks, so you don't need to recreate the structure of the original post.
Okay, so let's say that I create a blog post and it's called how to build a cat. Let's go with that. I don't know how you would do that, but never mind. Maybe the AI can figure that out for me. But I write it in English. I click publish, and it's going to be translated. And what I will get then is I'll get the published version in English, because that's how I began. And then if I go into my posts editor screen, my data view of posts, I'll see two more in my case. I'll see an unpublished, a draft French and a draft German. And then I will go in, and as you say, we're not using meta boxes or anything like that. This is just, we've got a brand new post. It's post content in there in German. So, if I spot an error, I can just go in and edit it in the same way. Have I got that right? It's a draft post, which I can then publish.
Absolutely right.
Okay. Perfect. Now, what then if my content happened to be peppered with, I don't know, an image here, I don't know, a block quote here, maybe an embedded YouTube video and all of that? How does it manage any of that? Does it kind of skirt around? And I'm imagining GraphQL is the perfect model for doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, GraphQL is the perfect tool for this. It extracts the property from the block, and then it only translates those properties. So you have the image block, and the image block has the source image, and it has the caption. So you only send the caption to translate, and the source image remains untouched.
Oh, wait. So it's translating. So the string, the URL of the actual file remains the same. So it's how to build a cat.png. That's going to be the same across all three posts. But you're sucking out the caption and you're translating that string.
Exactly. Huh. So what it does is you have the blog post with all of the blocks. And it can also go deep into the blocks, because, for instance, the table has the cell and the cell has the content. So it can actually go really deep inside the structure of the content and only extract the properties that need to be translated. So in the case of the image, for instance, we have the image that it cannot be translated and the caption will be translated. Same with a video, that you have the source of the video and it will have a caption. You only extract the caption, and then what it does is it extracts all of these properties, all of them from the post, and it creates one array with all the strings, and it sends one request to the API, to ChatGPT, with a prompt saying, translate this list of strings. So then ChatGPT or whichever API will return a JSON with that list of strings, and when it comes back, I get that list of strings, and then I put them back on the original place in the block from where they came from. And then I just store the post.
Okay, so it can handle not just like captions in images, but it could handle like fairly complicated, I don't know, tables and things like that. So it would be able to...
It can handle everything. Right. Now, the thing is this, right now, it works with the classic editor, which is just a pure blob of HTML. No big deal. Yeah. And with Gutenberg. And people have been asking me, does it work with Bricks? Does it work with Elementor? And the answer is both yes and no. Yes, because yes, you tell ChatGPT translate everything, and it will translate everything. But then once again, it could do it wrong, and then the format will not appear right on the translation. And that is a problem because whenever that happens, then you cannot edit the translation. You edit the translation and the format is all broken. So then I say no. For the time being, no. What I need to do is to create a parser to parse the format for that specific page builder.
Got it.
So right now,
Yeah.
Elementor is not supported. Once again, you could do it, because you're a cowboy. And sure, let's do it. But I don't sell it like that. I don't say that you can do it because you cannot edit it. And I think that's my next frontier, to add parsers for all of these page builders, certainly for Elementor. I mean, many people have requested that already. And for Bricks, I also had, and also for Divi, somebody asked me to do this. So eventually, yes, you can pretty much translate absolutely everything.
But that's because of the problem of how that page builder creates its stuff. The HTML
exactly,
wrapped around the table and the image and whatever it may be. Yeah,
exactly, because you have the page. They all use page as the custom post type to store their content. You have the Elementor template. You have the brick stories, and they have a page. And inside the page, they have their own components. And they have some formatting to tell one component from the other. So the parser needs to understand that format and extract the property from within. And this have been coded for Gutenberg. So basically, Gutenberg, you might be aware of the formatting that it does. It has like an HTML comment with all the properties. So then the GraphQL parser extracts the property from this format. It knows how to do that. I can do the same for Elementor to interpret the format in which Elementor stores its data inside of the page. And whenever that happens, you can translate also all the Elementor templates automatically.
Right. I think the sublimely cool thing about this, we've had translations in WordPress with third-party plugins and what have you for many years. The point is, you've been able to do something like this for ages. But what makes this so compelling is how quick it is. And in the examples that you show, now I don't know if it's a bit of clever editing on the video, you can tell me in a moment. But basically, you finished your blog post, and obviously, caveat emptor, if it's got 20,000 words and 600 images with 100 captions and 40 categories and blah, 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 it might take a bit longer. But a typical blog post of, let's say 1,000 words with translations into 3 languages, it looks like it really does take a matter of seconds. Kind of the amount of time that I could go off and make a cup of coffee, come back, and it's all done. And I imagine if it was just text in a few languages, it would probably just take a couple of seconds. Is that the case, or have you cleverly edited your videos to disguise that? Or is it pretty quick, basically? Because in the past, you'd have to communicate with translation services, send off an email or do something inside a meta box or what have you. But this is all happening live.
Yeah. The videos are not edited.
Nice.
But they're using Google Translate, which is very fast. But nowadays, people want ChatGPT. And ChatGPT takes much longer. So in the videos, the translation is done within 1 second, maybe.
Why do people want ChatGPT over Google Translate? Is it actually better, or is it just that everybody likes ChatGPT?
Both.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Both. I think ChatGPT has this context. It knows better about you, about where you're coming from. It can translate to address what needs you have, so you can be more subtle. You can translate something for a specific use case. You can say that, you can even say the translation should have good SEO, and you cannot do those things with Google Translate. Google Translate is more raw, the translation. You cannot customize it for your needs. And I think that people want that. They want that level of personalization in a way. But that comes at the cost that it takes longer. So when you use ChatGPT, it might take maybe 10, maybe 15, maybe 20, maybe 30 seconds. It really depends on the amount of content that you're translating. Adding more languages doesn't take longer because the plugin will send independent requests asynchronously. So you have 5 languages. You have French, Spanish, German, Japanese, and Chinese. And it will send 5 requests to the API independent from each other. And when the 5 of them come back, then the response will keep processing into adding all the 5 entries. What makes it longer is the amount of text that you're translating. And in the case of the AI, some AIs have better handling of that because they have a bigger context window.
Yeah.
So now, for instance, there is Claude. Claude, they say, is very good for deep thinking, but it gave you very small size. They only had like 8K for that context window. That means that you cannot translate like long blog posts.
Got it.
Now they seem to have addressed it better. Nowadays, Claude Sonnet 3.7, they give you 128K. Now it seems to be better. So this is like an arms race. It keeps evolving, and maybe it will be faster. I added support for Mistral, which is a French AI company, and supposedly it's faster than ChatGPT. But once again, you have to test it. You have to use it and see how real that is.
Yeah.
So then, in other words, if you want it to be fast, super fast, Google Translate and DeepL are really good. But if you want like that level of personalized content and maybe have better translation that addresses a specific demographic or some people from some country or whatever intention you have to do with your content, then AI is much better.
Now, the plugin is also, I guess, working with Polylang to do a few nice things along the way. So, for example, if you click publish on that How to Build a Cat post, the French version will be titled How to Build a Cat in French and the German version in German or what have you, but also things like metadata bound to it as well. So the tagging, the page hierarchy, what the parent is for the post and all of that comes out. And I don't know if that's a function of Polylang or if it's a function of what you do. I'm imagining it's a function of Polylang, but that's all happening in the background as well.
No, that's a function of my
Oh,
plugin.
nice. Okay, great.
So what Polylang gives you is the management of the content, of the translations. So Polylang gives you the ability to translate tags, categories, custom post types, and media. And then on top of that, I added the logic that whenever you create a category, it automatically will translate it and create the terms for all languages. Whenever you add a tag, it will automatically create the translation for all languages. Whenever you upload an image, it will automatically create new entries for that image using the same source file. It doesn't duplicate the file, but it creates a new entry on the database so that it can translate the caption, the description, and the alt for the image. And all of these happen as you're creating the blog post on the WordPress editor. So in the WordPress editor, you have on the main content, you're writing the blog post, and then on the side, you have the sidebar, right? And then you can add a category. And as you add the category, it automatically it creates the category in the language. And when you publish the blog post in Spanish, when you publish in your language in English, it will create the translation in Spanish, and the translated post in Spanish will be assigned the translated category in Spanish, and the translated tags in Spanish, and the translated feature image in Spanish. So there's like a relationship across all of these entities, and it's respected all the time. And it happens throughout the history of the post. So then you come and you edit the post again, and you delete one tag, and it will also be deleted from the translation.
It binds them all together. So the English the English category is the same as the Spanish one, even though they've got a different word attached to them. They're bound together. So delete one across one, and it goes on.
You have the tag in English has a relationship to a tag in Spanish. Then that tag in English is added to a post in English. The corresponding tag in Spanish will be added to the corresponding post in Spanish. And this synchronization is happening all the time. So whenever you do any change, you add a category, that will be synchronized to all of the translations. Whenever you add another image, that will be synchronized to all of the translations. If you remove the image, the feature image from this post in English, it will be removed from the translated post.
Right, you've thought of everything. And can you interact with any of the languages in the same way, or do you always have to return to the version which was the original? So in my case, do I have to return to the English to edit it, or could I have a Spanish content editor say, I'm on the Spanish one, I want to delete that image, or is it like?
Yeah, well, it's really up to you. The idea is normally that you have like one master language.
Right, that's what I would have thought.
In this case, say in your case might be English, and then you have the site in French and Spanish, right? And if you want to edit anything, because it's a translation, you want to edit it in English. Now, you can also edit it in French, but then if you add a new paragraph in French, you run the risk that when you do any change in English, it will
Yeah.
override
Okay.
it. That's why the idea is to have always like a master language from which you push the content to all the other languages, and then in the other language you can edit it, mostly to fix any problem, but not to add content.
Does the UI for the, so if I'm on the post screen and I see my great big list of posts and what have you, does it bind the similar content together in a sort of visual way? So in other words, if I've got my English post and then I've got my German and French and Spanish ones, which are kind of like children in a sense. I know they're not, but you know what I mean. Is there a way that I can keep those together? Because those lists of posts can get a bit, it's difficult to keep track of everything, if you know what I mean. If you've got hundreds and hundreds of posts, it's hard to know which ones went with what. And
right. Yeah, well, that depends on Polylang. And Polylang, it has free and pro. The free version, I think that it just gives you all the posts for all of the entries. So then you'll have in the same list, it will say this post in French, then the same one in Spanish, then in English, then another one in French, then another one in Spanish, all of them together. At most, it gives you a selector at the top that you can see all the posts in French and only the ones in French, and then all the posts in Spanish and nothing but Spanish. So at least, it's not so confusing.
okay.
And I think that the pro version of Polylang, it does have that better. I think that you can have a post and then you can better see the relationship.
Right.
But in any case, both Polylang free and pro, you can filter like by language, as I explained. And when you click on the post, there's an entry that shows you which are all of the translations, and from there you can hop to the translation.
Oh, I see. Okay, so almost like metadata within the post itself is
exactly.
something about the relationship of the other posts that go with it. Okay, so I think we've done a fairly credible job of explaining how all that works and how obviously time-consuming it would be. What if I came to this, though, like my WP Builds website, I don't know how many posts there are, but there's multiple hundreds. There might be over 1,000, I don't know. But the point is there's more than a couple. Can we batch them like that? Can we sort of run some sort of batch process? And is it possible to, I don't know, limit the rate at which that's happening so that I don't suddenly get a bill from ChatGPT of $7,000, whatever it may be? I know it's never going to get to that, but you know what I mean. Can we batch them? Let's start there.
Yes, we can. So just now we were talking about automatically translating when you publish, but then you can also run it manually from the post list. So you can select the items that you want to translate and via the bulk actions. And then there's a select, and you can select Gato Translate, and it will translate all of these entries. So then you can select posts that you have already written in the past and translate all of those.
Okay. And can you, so what you're saying is you can just sort of select, I don't know, let's do another 50. Pick 50, do those, and then maybe tomorrow we'll do another 50 when we've seen what the bill is.
Yeah, exactly.
And things like that. Yeah.
And if you use ChatGPT, it might be a bit slow. So then you might as well, start running 50, go have a coffee and come back in a few minutes and see how it's doing.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how the word slow in the year 2025 is like when I was a kid, slow, you're talking like you sit around for a couple of hours for things to happen. But nowadays, the mere fact of waiting 7 seconds is, that's very slow. But it is, you are literally talking about the length of time it takes to put water in a cup and come back upstairs and what have you. You're really talking a few seconds. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, as I was mentioning before, the time that it takes depends on the amount of content that you translate.
Yeah.
So what the plugin does is to send as few requests as possible. So there's a context window that you can send, and you can fit as much data as possible within that context. So you have 2,000 blog posts, that will be 100 requests, and then you have to wait and wait and wait. But you can split it into batches of 50, and that becomes more manageable.
Okay. I think we probably cracked it there. Let me just give you the URL one more time. So we're at gatoplugins.com, GATO plugins.com. And then if you go to the main menu at the top is a plugin section, which at the minute only has one in it, but it sounds like you've got some intuition.
It should be plugin section.
Yeah, it'll come. But go and click on the Gato AI Translations for Polylang, and you'll be able to see everything in there. Is there any sort of hot feature that I didn't manage to pick up on that you wanted to mention, or do you think we covered off most of it?
We have covered most of the most important things, yeah.
Okay, let's quickly touch on pricing then. So at the moment, caveat emptor, who knows? Leo may change the pricing, but at the moment, $89 will get you a 3-domain license. $139 gets you up to 6 domains, and $179 will get you 10 domains as well. So as I said, we'll see if that pricing changes, but that's what it is at the moment. And go on, have you got any ideas for other plugins that you're going to build? Or are you prepared to drop any of those or not?
I had like 5 or 6 in my head. Next one, I have 2 that I want to build right now. And since I don't have another body and I cannot clone myself, I will have to choose one or the other. One is AI. So AI automations. Once again, this is the same plugin that I have already built, but instead of doing translation, it does something with AI. Which is, for instance, that you can automatically write the title based on the content, or automatically create the tags, or automatically fix the content, or rewrite it for better SEO. All of these things, yeah. And the cool thing about this solution will be that, once again, this will be overrideable, that the user can create their own automations. And I'm very excited because of that. That they don't need to know how to program. I mean, this is a GraphQL query. If you're comfortable with GraphQL, then you can provide a query that will, do something else. You call ChatGPT to rewrite the content on it with some different characteristics, and you're good to go. So there's no need to program. There's no need to know any PHP. Anyone can add their own recipes. And the second one that I want to build is the same plugin, Gato AI Translations for multi-site.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I have everything that is needed. I already have the way to fetch data from a multi-site, store data in a multi-site. I can connect to another site via the application password. It's just changing one GraphQL query and renaming the plugin and launch it, with a different.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. You've got yourself really set up there. That's absolutely brilliant. So a couple of things coming down the pike in the near future, maybe some more as well. But for now, Gato AI Translations for Polylang. Go check it out. Honestly, if you scroll down on the home page for that plugin, if you like, then you'll pass the usual images explaining what's going on and some features and what have you. But if you get to, I would say, about 4/5 of the way down, there's 6 or 7 videos, and they're very short, like a couple of minutes long. But it's Leo talking to the camera and sharing his screen, and does a really, really great job of explaining how it happens, and you'll get it in a heartbeat. So, if you've got clients who want this kind of thing and you want an easy solution that the clients really don't have to get involved with, then this looks really credible. Leo, thank you very much for chatting to me about this today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks to you. I love talking to you, Nathan. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Okay, that's all we've got for you today. I hope that you enjoyed that. If you've got any comments about that, head to wpbuilds.com, leave us a comment, find episode number 414, and use the WordPress commenting system. That's what it's for. We'd really appreciate that. The WP Builds podcast is brought to you today by GoDaddy Pro. GoDaddy Pro, the home of managed WordPress hosting that includes free domain, SSL, and 24/7 support. Bundle that with the Hub by GoDaddy Pro to unlock more free benefits to manage multiple sites in one place, invoice clients, and get 30% off new purchases. Find out more at go.me/WP Builds. And we're also helped this week by Bluehost. Bluehost, redefine your web hosting experience with Bluehost Cloud, managed WordPress hosting that comes with lightning-fast websites, 100% network uptime, and 24/7 priority support. With Bluehost Cloud, the possibilities are out of this world. Experience it today at bluehost.com/cloud. And we're also assisted this week by Omnisend. Omnisend. Do you sell your stuff online? Then meet Omnisend. Yes, that Omnisend. the email and SMS tool that helps you make $73 for every dollar spent. The one that's so good, it's almost boring. Hate the excitement of roller coaster sales? Prefer a steady line going up? Well, try OmniSend today at omnisend.com. And sincere thanks go to GoDaddy Pro, Bluehost, and OmniSend for their support of the WP Builds podcast. Okay, that really, truly is it. Just a quick reminder, we'll be back on Monday for the This Week in WordPress show, live, wpbuilds.com/live, 2 p.m. UK time, and back on Thursday for a podcast episode. Hopefully, we'll catch you at some point then. But if not, stay safe. Have a good week. Here comes some dreadful cheesy music. Bye-bye for now.